time and tide waits for none. We all know this. However, are we managing our time effectively? Are we working towards our goals? Today, we have a great keynote speaker for you. He was in the Indian Army for 34 years and was appointed as the chairman of Army Public School, Bareilly. But he was attracted towards personal development of children and took a conscious, hard decision to shift gears and enter the education field. So in his last 17 years, he's interacted over 40,000 students. Can you imagine 40,000 students, 160 principals, over 3,000 teachers, and more than 2,000 parents? He's an educator, a time-conscious coach, leadership trainer, author of 6 books, including $1 Million Second, which is one of the best-selling books. So this book has some of the proven time investment strategies. So he's on a mission to transform the lives of the youth. His various leadership, time management, and goal-setting programs have emphasized the importance of self-discipline, team spirit, and time conscious. So I personally feel privileged to be part of his academy, BSB Life Academy, and having him here today. So ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Brigadier Sushil Bhasin. Right.
Thank you so much.
Sir, Jai Hind.
Jai Hind, absolutely.
Jai Hind, sir.
Yeah.
Jai Hind.
I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy to see you all. Thank you, Radhika. Thank you, Colonel Aditya, and all of you. Some of you have now become friends, and some of you are going to be friends in another half an hour. Okay, so that's where I say I'm the richest man in the world. And I say that because I have the richest, the best friends, and the wealth of those friends. I challenge if anyone can have better friends than I have. And that's why I say I'm the richest man in the world. So by the end of this talk today, I would have increased my wealth. Thank you very much. So shall I start? So your time can start clicking now.
Yes, sir. Stage is all yours, sir. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Right. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, firstly, I wanted to present before you a nice PPT, because I find that without PPT, people think, yeah, bekar ka trainer hai, isko kuch nahi aata hai. But today, my presentation is without a PPT. One, that I want to make it a personal, interactive chat with you. And secondly, I did make a PPT, but something happened and it got crashed. And then I could never recreate in the time available. And I decided, no, let me go with my original self. So are you okay with that? Will you miss your PPT?
No.
No, very good. Okay. So my story of converting or, getting my dream of writing a book closer to reality happened on the 6th of May, 2015, which also happened to be my wedding anniversary. I was in Singapore and I was attending a seminar by Tony Robbins. And in that seminar, there was a 1-hour session by a global author coach called Jerry Robert. And Jerry Robert started his presentation by saying, how many of you ever wanted to write a book? And there were many people in the hall, including me, who raised my hand. And he said, why didn't you write it? If you wanted to write a book, why didn't you write it? And then he asked everyone to give answers. And the answers were, I don't even know how to write an essay. Who will read my book? I can't write a book. Who will read my book? Where will it get published? Etc. etc. There were a whole lot of questions that came up. And he said, how long have you been wanting to write a book? 5 years, 10 years. When he said 15 years, then I was one of them who raised my hand that, yeah, I decided 15 years I wanted to write a book, but never got close to it. And then he said something which I just loved. And because there's no PPT, because there's no, it'll be good if some of you who are aspiring authors put your thoughts that you get after I speak onto your paper. Brian Tracy taught me one thing: think on paper, because what you think in your mind remains there. But if you put it on paper, it goes into your subconscious mind. Okay, so the first thing I want you to write down, if you want to, is, he said, write your first imperfect book. All of you have given me questions. Your doubts are because you want to write a perfect book and you never reach there and you don't write it. So be prepared to write your first imperfect book. And when my book got published finally, my first post on Facebook was, my imperfect book is published. And then people used to ask me, why do you say it's imperfect? And I gave them the answer. And even today, if you read it, that book has got spelling mistakes. It has got many other errors, which we noticed later. We were in a hurry. We decided a date and we had to meet that deadline. We published the book. Okay. Good lessons learned. Not my best book, but a good book. And I'll tell you why. Now, after I came back from there, another thing he said, Jerry Roberts said that when you decide to write a book, make a commitment. Make a commitment. Tell some of your good friends to say, I'm writing a book by so-and-so date. And that commitment drives you. So I said, why one or two friends? I've got 5,000 friends on Facebook. So that very evening when I went home, I published a post. I am writing my first imperfect book by 31st December 2015. And guess what? More than 200 comments. I don't remember the likes. And all the comments were, I'm sure you'll give me a free copy, etc., etc. Okay. All that happened. And anyway, so I did make a note of people who said, I'll buy your first book. I said, these are my good clients, buy your first book. Okay. So the spirit was high. The intention was there, but there was nothing called action. If you don't convert your intention into action, no results happen. And that's what is happening. In the month of October, I was sitting on my dining table on my computer, and my wife was sitting on another screen, which is her TV. She's always there. So we normally work parallel. I'm on my laptop. She's on a TV screen. And she passed a very sarcastic comment to me. What happened to that book you were going to write? I said, yeah, it's written. She said, where? I never saw anything. I said, it's all here. She says, no, that is not the book. It has to be on the paper. Have you written anything? I said, no. And the December went by. Somewhere, none of those 200 people on Facebook asked me, where's the book? They also forgot. I also forgot. The story ended. Fast forward another 1 year, May 2016. I was invited by a friend to a seminar in a jeweler's shop in Bombay. And there I met another gentleman called Satish Purohit. And he was doing a similar workshop telling people how and why to write a book, just like what Radhika did just now. I heard him and I got reminded of many things that Jerry Robert had said, because he that time did not know much about Jerry Robert, but later on I got to know that many things that he said were quite common with what Jerry Robert said. And I decided, now it is time, I must do it. We had a tea break and I said, Satish, I want to write a book. I'll be your client. Can you coach me? Because that is what he had offered. Next day, he was in my house on an invitation. I locked my room because I didn't want my wife to know what I'm doing. I signed up a deal with him, gave him a 25,000 rupees check, which he didn't ask for, because I knew that if I pay that check, my commitment will go high and it'll get like strengthened. So I said, Steve, should I give you an advance check? Like, he didn't even ask for it. He said, yes, thank you. And I gave him a check. And then 2 days later, I told my wife that I've signed up like this. And she says, what? You're going to pay 1,50,000? Who's going to read your book? And what are you going to write the book on? I said, yeah, my mission is to write a book for the students So the students will read it. She says, no, there are hundreds of books available. Who will read your book? And many times I now show her my book and say, see how many people have read this book. Anyway, now I'll get back to a couple of things and tell you my story when Satish started my coaching. And here, all of you may notice the importance of having a coach, having a mentor who pushes you, who nudges you. If not that, at least an accountability partner who keeps reminding you, where's your book? So these are the questions which Satish asked me. Why do you want to write a book? First thing, why do you want to write a book? And I'll come to that later, what all I told him. He said, okay, good. How many pages? I had no clue. I just saw the normal page, books were 200. I just randomly said 200 pages. So he did a few calculations and he said, when do you want your book to be published or completed rather? So I said 31st December, again, that same date, which I had promised people last year. So, and that means there were about 6 months left. And he said, good. So he did this calculation and he says, you need to write 1,000 words every day. And that will make you write from Monday to Friday, 5 days, and we want 5,000 words in a week. And if you, for any chance, are not able to do it in the first 5 days, you do it on Saturday, Sunday, but we can't see a Monday before 5,000 words have come. I said, yes, done. Okay. Then he says, what time will you write? I said, whenever I get time. He says, no, there has to be self-discipline. Please write, these are key words, self-discipline. If you are not disciplined, if you can't obey yourself, if you say, I will write and you don't write, you need to pull yourself up and say, why the hell aren't you obeying your own instructions? That's what happened. I decided, I said, hell, enough is enough. I made a commitment last year. I dishonored it. I can't be dishonoring my commitments anymore. So I started, and then he said, what time? When I said any time, he says, no, you have to have a fixed time because the body requires a certain type of a routine and that works very well. So then I gave it a thought and I said, okay, I'll use 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. for writing my book. So he says by 9 a.m. every day, I want the 1,000 words. I said, done. Now, every day I started sending him 1,000 words because we had in the first meeting only discussed what the book is about and sort of jotted down a few chapter headings, what was in my mind. I'll come to that later. And the book started getting written till about a month or so when, one day I didn't send him the 1,000 words. He was not on WhatsApp. He sent me a SMS. Commitment, question mark. Another day, similarly, when the 1,000 words didn't go, he said 1,000 words, question mark. He used to send me just 1 or 2 words, phrases. And I got scared of them. And, I used to say, tell my wife, jaldi se breakfast do, 9 o'clock, I have to send, nahi to mere ko dant pad jayegi. That is how the thing started happening. One day, when I didn't send, he rang me up. He said, sir, it is your book. It is your commitment. Where are your 1,000 words? I said, Satish, I'm telling you, honest to God, I sat for that 1 hour. I did a lot, but I just couldn't think of what to write. I mean, I was short of content. He said, sir, it always happens. This is called a writer's block. So what you need to do is write anything. Write about sunny day, rainy day, my favorite author, my train journey, kuch bhi likho. Your mind needs to exercise. Like you go to the gym, you exercise. Whether it contributes to your book or not, doesn't matter. Write and send me. By 3 o'clock, I sent him 1,000 words of some jumbled thing. Okay, but I sent him. Guys, discipline, right? And then before 31st December, my book got written. I'm a goal management trainer also. And I also give this example to say, don't set outcome-based goals, set performance-based goals. Performance is, I'll write the book, that I can do. But publish the book, no, there's a publisher. Ab uski kahani hai. If he doesn't publish the book on time, you can do nothing about it, right? Anyway, my book got published, and it was published by Notion Press. Okay. The first and the last book to be ever published by them. I never go to them again. And some people have had some very good experiences with them, but we are 5 authors who know each other, who went to them, and all 5 are absolutely disgusted with them. That is for you as a feedback, whether you want to go to them or not. This book, if I open, it doesn't even open properly. See this? I've been to a bookshop where these books were lined up and you could see one book higher than the other, 1 millimeter. But when they're all together, they look bad. I found this green color to be different in some books and different in the others. So be careful. Okay. Now, from I want to also say that could have I written this book alone? Doubtful. I couldn't have. So therefore, I say a coach is a good idea. The next thing is then that I also want to talk something about Satish, how he helped me. First of all, he just didn't only edit, he co-created, he immersed in my book. He used to discuss and say, okay, now, why don't you next write this? And then sometimes he would give me some ideas and say, can you remember a story from your army life which brings out this? Or when you were running camp, do you remember of anything which a child said which could depict motivation, or can it come out to where he overcame his limiting beliefs? And I would search my mind and say, that story. Okay. And then sometimes you even dramatized a story or exaggerated a story to highlight a point. So that was very, very important. Now, what the coach helped me was create a structure. I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. Flow. He would tell me that this, from this chapter to this chapter, there's no bridge to connect the 2 chapters. So we need a filler here. So we need something to link these 2 chapters. Okay. Then he created a little design for me. And he said that every book has a type of a design in the structure. So I'm talking about first book, Design Your Life so far, there was a quote to begin every time, right? Now he also is a person, you may have excellent English. You can say, oh, I can write. I've been writing articles and all that. Good. But he's the one who connects you with the reader, because as a professional, he knows whether this book is marketable or not. Will the reader receive it or not? And that is also a very important thing that a good coach will tell you, right? Now, coming to a few tips that I want to give you. And before that, of course, I want to talk about my second book, which is my main book. This is a book which is a best-selling book. It was published by CNBC and it was endorsed by Brian Tracy. And if you just see, if you can get an endorsement like a person like Brian Tracy, who also makes a statement which is stronger than I ever made. I never told anyone that I'll double your income, but he said that. Nobody can ever hear me from my mouth ever saying that. But he said it. So that is something that I wanted to say. Now I will quickly get down to a few steps that I've written down for you, and I'll just go through them. I think I've divided the entire thing into 7 steps. And writing a book takes these 7 steps. I'll have to hurry up a little because Radhika, can you give me the remaining time so I can structure accordingly?
Sir, you have 10 more minutes.
10 more minutes.
Exactly 10 more minutes, yeah.
Okay. So I'm sure I cannot ever finish everything in 10 minutes. So wherever you want anything more, you can always get back to me. I'm also going to be doing on the, when will it be? 11 and 7, 18. Somewhere close to 17th or 18th of July, I'm doing a masterclass on writing a book. So anyone wants to attend, you do that. Okay. So now first step is the idea. When you get down to a book and you think of writing a book, please see that you have a great idea. Why do you want to write the book? Anyone who wants to write the book to make money from his first book should drop the idea of writing a book there and then. Okay, because you will not be able to make much money out of your first book. Treat your first book, and if you do, and that's what I told Satish, as long as my expenses are recovered, I'm happy. I don't want to spend on my from my pocket, but my aim would be that whatever I give to you, whatever I give to Notion Press and whatever else, that should be recovered, which I did well enough. In fact, I did much more, which I'll tell you later. Okay. And that is when I'm coming to repurposing the content of your book. That's the last point I'll talk about. Your core message should be very strong. If you are going to write a book on a topic that many, many people have written and your content is just as good as them, there's nothing new, there's nothing unique. The topic may be same. Time management is a topic, but I am talking about it differently. So either you have a different topic or you have a topic that is covered differently, a different approach, or you have made the approach very simple. There has to be something different. Otherwise, you will not be able to sell that book, right? Now, that idea which you have has to be developed and it should land. It should land. So there's something which I've learned from my mentors, that whether you are on the stage speaking or writing a book, writing an article, writing a blog post, ask yourself the three things that the audience, and in this case, the reader, should think, feel, and do after your session is over. Right? Now, if that is clear to you, then you structure your thing accordingly. And I also say that something like a flight, that you first taxi, which means you just bring about the idea. And then you take off with evidence. Research shows that this, and all that. And then you come to cruising, and that is your metaphor. That's your main substance added with stories. This is what happened in my life. There was once in my life, this happened. Bringing the core subject to the forefront. And then the last part, which is very important, is landing. Landing means that the message that you wanted to give finally comes and lands in the heart of the reader or the audience, and it inspires them to take action. When you can do that, then you are not only a communicator, you are an influencer, because your communication triggered an action. My second part or second step is the structure. The moment you decide that you have got to write a book and your idea, you haven't written a word on the manuscript as yet, don't worry. The first thing you do in your structure is just write down bullet points of the main ideas you're going to cover. And these later on become your chapter headings. So this is your first draft or your TOC, table of content. Okay, now that can change later. You change the headings, you will shuffle them, they may change the sequence, but right in the beginning, you just write the main points. And then under that, whether you use a mind map or otherwise, write the sub points, sub bullet points. That will give you a little structure. But before even you do that, if your main story or main idea is there, get straight away to decide a title. One very good tip I can give you is write on your blog post, on nowadays on Clubhouse, on Instagram, anywhere, I am going to write a book and these are the 3 titles, please vote for them. The first thing is you have now seeded in people that I am an upcoming author. My book likh rahi hu. And this is the title. And you're taking audience feedback. So you will also get a little idea that which title will go better, right? Then you get a cover design. And if I show you some of my old cover designs, the Design Your Life had a very different cover till it finally got published and the new cover came up. You can change your cover. Nobody stopped you. But have a tentative cover ready, have your title ready, and along with the title is a tagline which explains. For example, if you see this $1 million second and it says the investment strategies for the digital age, this is what sells the book more than the title. Title people may not understand, but tagline is to tell them what it is about. And that has to be done, use a copywriter, use a lot of deliberation on that. Again, don't wait for it to be finalized. Jab tak book likhenge, bahut ideas aayenge. Now with this cover, go on to Facebook and say, these are the 3 covers again. Would you like the blue background or the green background, and get feedback? Again, from once you did for title, second time you're writing about the book, you are engaging your audience with your intention right now. You have started marketing your book even before you have written a word. The third thing you say is, I'm writing my book, and closer to when it's ready. It should be something like 15 days or maybe maximum a month before it is finally in the market. Pre-order. The book is priced at $4.99. All those who buy the book before so-and-so date get a copy, and say author signed copy for $2.99. And you would have sold your book even before you have written it, or before it's published rather. Okay. One more idea. You write your first chapter. Like I used to write my first chapter, give it to Satish. Satish edited it, gave it back to me, and that was my blog post. Okay. I'm again engaging people, and I won't write the full chapter. I'll write a part of it, and no indication is going to be in my book, but I'm establishing my authority, particularly on time management. Okay. So these are some of the ideas that you can do. At this junction, I want you to start making an idea bank. Idea bank is, you'll say, oh, I saw this in that book. Can I also do this? So I'll give you lots and lots of ideas. I've got about 30 of them. I coached some people and gave them those 30 ideas. And, all these people who were coached by me could use some of them. Okay, very well. So some of the tips, something like endorsements, forwards. So in this book, in Design Your Life, in $1 Million Second, the last chapter, which is the 11th chapter, is on I want to quickly show you this. Oh my God, why is it taking so much of time? Sorry, yeah, here it comes. Okay, that was bad. Okay. Perspective, sorry. Yeah. Can you see this perspective on time?
Yes, we can see. We can see,
Perspective
sir.
on time. Now there are 15 people's stories. So I wrote a lot of letters to a lot of people, and that somebody included Narendra Modi. It included Brian Tracy. It included Jack Canfield. That do you have a story about your life when you managed your time very well or messed it up and gave you a lesson? And there are 15 such stories. At least 5 of them are from international authors. Okay. In that only I asked, and Brian Tracy wrote back, I'm a personal friend of Jack Canfield, but I got a message from his office to say Jack Canfield has categorically stopped giving any endorsements of books, so we are not even putting a letter up to him. And I left it. I said, okay, that's a decision. I respect his decision. But I never knew that Brian Tracy would send me an endorsement. So till you ask, and that is the principle of Jack Canfield, one of his success principles is ask, ask, ask. Don't expect to win a lottery ticket without buying a lottery ticket. You can't say I didn't get a lottery ticket because I never bought one. Okay, ask. Right. The next thing I will come to is when you start writing the manuscript. So quick 2-3 steps on that is write regularly the 1,000 words or whatever number of words you want to write, no gaps, because that builds up your writing muscles. Okay. I've already given you the idea of main points and bullet points. They will keep adding. And even till the end, I used to say, okay, I think this paragraph can be added in this now. And this is a story I suddenly remembered. Or, some friend of mine told me this happened in 1976. And I said, yeah, this can be a beautiful story in my book. Okay, and many of the stories came to my mind after the book was published. And guess what I did with that? I recorded YouTube videos and they add to my YouTube channel. And in that, I've got a playlist called Time Brigade. When ideas start coming, I met a lady who's my student, and her daughter gave me an idea. She does conscious music and therapy through conscious music. And she designed a jingle for me. So if you go on my YouTube, you will find there's a Time Brigade jingle sung by her, and that was on my book launch. Now that is some idea I haven't seen any author doing it. I've got a couple of things which I can tell you that no author in the world did what I did. Okay, whether it worked or not worked, we can talk later. Now we come to fourth point, and that is editing. Now editing, final editing happens in the end. By chapter editing is good if you have a coach like I had, and that really worked very well. Then is publishing. You have to, this was a big hassle with us because I was a first client of Satish Purohit. And he also at that point of time did not have any idea about publishing. But later on we grew together, and now he has his own publishing house. So now he can offer you a package of publishing the book end to end, including the ISBN number and everything that goes with it. Now, all this, if I tell you out of all my 7 steps that I'm going to be talking about, the easiest one, can somebody guess which is the easiest of all the 7 steps? Is the writing part. The manuscript is the easiest, which people dread. The tougher one now is marketing and distribution. You will write a book, but who will read it? And if you write a book and it remains in your cupboard, it is of no use. Okay. Yeah. So be careful. I know people say it is a glorified visiting card, which it is, and I've given it to many people just for that. I'll just tell you on Clubhouse, I met Ashish Vidyarthi, became a good friend. It was his birthday on 19th, and I sent him a book as a present. Okay. Now, for me, it was establishing a good relationship by giving a beautiful book, which is a gift, which is my book. And he sent such a nice video to thank me for that. Making relationships, use your book. Okay. So marketing and distribution, I understood marketing little bit in my first book because my first book was only on Amazon. And then we went and did a book launch in Sapna Book House, and Sapna Book House agreed to put it up for 6 months in their 14 outlets in Karnataka. But nowhere else was it available in a bookshop. When my second book came, this was available in all landmarks, all crosswords, all airports, major airports in India used to have my book. Then I spent 40,000 rupees to get a pyramid. You know, when you go to a bookshop, you find about 100 books stacked up in a very decorative way. I did that. And a lot of my books sold on the airport because you're getting the high-end publicity there. Okay, so that marketing and distribution, I understood distribution. I went and visited more than 30 bookshops in which I gave a presentation to the salespeople of how to sell my book. Very few authors ever do that, but I have done it. At least 30 bookshops, including Delhi, Chennai, Bangalore, Mumbai. Of course, I did many of them. So this is a good way of doing it. And the last one, which I'm going to give you, is the mother tip. There are many authors here I know who are going to speak after me, and I can see Chakradhar and his, brilliant, glowing face right now. Many authors write their first book and get down to writing their second book, even before enjoying the success of the first book. And I'll tell you, there's a beautiful idea. Don't write a second book. First book ka juice nikalo. Now, that is repurposing content. So what you do? Firstly, convert your book onto an online course and publish it anywhere other than Udemy. Do it on Upgrad. a high-end platform. Okay. So publish your book there. Publish an online course. Every chapter of your book can become a module. Secondly, convert all your chapters into blog posts. Thirdly, I got to write for human capital. I got to write for human capital, and I gave them about 6 articles. I used to do one article every month, and that was again based on my book. They're all on time management and all from my book. Okay. Now here in those articles, I could add those things which came to my mind after the book was published. So it was a book plus, right? So you can use the same. I've got a 40 minutes time management work keynote speech, and I get 1 lakh paid for 1 hour. That is what my book is giving me. Jerry Roberts said, if you are a speaker trainer, write a book on the subject that you teach. Your book will sell your seminar will sell your book. Very, very important point. Okay. And the last thing is, your book can become an audio book, can become a
Sir, you're on mute.
You're on mute.
Can you unmute yourself? Yeah, I just muted all. There was some disturbance.
Sorry, and I think is my time over?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just covering, then I'll just finish off here and leave the rest of it. I'll just tell you the last point that actually 2 points which I must say, and I'll share as shortly as possible. One is that this book of mine got converted into a podcast called Zindagi Unplugged. And we converted this book into 24 episodes, and they decided to pay me 20,000 rupees per episode. So I signed my first contract for 4.8 lakhs. Okay. This book never gave me this money, but this book got into a podcast which gave me the money, right? When we were on the 18th episode recording, I got a call from them and says, Spotify says this podcast is doing very well. Can you please extend it to 48? I said, why not? So it became a 9.6 lakhs contract. Okay. So this book, whatever is given me from the book itself, has given me 9.6 lakhs from my podcast. So please repurpose your content. Usi content ko blog post banao, YouTube channel banao, online course banao. Then think of a second book. Jab pura juice nikal gaya, like a sugar cane. Nobody just puts one sugar cane once and throws it away. He puts it again, then he folds it, then he puts 6, 7 together and folds them till not even a drop of juice is left. Please do that with your first book. And the last thing, I think I'll skip that because Tony Robbins says, book likhte kyun mat likho. Tony Robbins has in a seminar, in a panel discussion, said that it took me ages to write books. Now I find that if I have a new content, I can do a webinar, I can go online and make that money instantly rather than waiting for it to become a bestseller. So should I even write a book? That's also a question you have to keep in mind. But then writing a book gives you credibility, gives you authority, gives you respect. And please remember, it is certainly a glorified visiting card. When you go for a meeting and say, here's a book for you, please remember to put a nice bookmark, put your branding on your bookmark and put it there. Okay. Thank you. And I finished. I'm sorry I took a little longer, but there's so much more to say, but I thought this was the minimum that I must tell you about writing a book. Thank you very much. Thank you, Colonel Aditya. Thank you, Radhika, for this opportunity. And thanks to each one of you who chose to invest your valuable time. I hope the return on your time invested was not bad. Thank you.